There he is, in the
What's
flesh.
up? How you doing?
Amazing, brother. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
100%. So, for the whole community, first thing that I wanted to do is try to get a little bit into your backstory, who you are, what you're about, what it is that you're trying to accomplish here on Instagram and everything that you got going on.
All right, sweet. So, basically, I've been trading for a while. I started off investing and then basically got into trading because my dad came home and he bought some penny stock and he asked me to look into it, and I just started researching. Basically, I found that this company was a complete scam, and that really got me into it.
Okay.
Started searching all these companies and kind of figuring out how they make money, how they continue to operate. Once I started figuring all that stuff out, I got into short selling. And yeah, now I'm mostly doing short selling, some investing, and I trade options sometimes. Not a whole lot. And mostly, I came on Instagram. Really what I did is I was writing Seeking Alpha articles, and then I got a lot of positive feedback on some of those articles, so I hopped on Instagram, started sharing ideas, and then I just kind of turned into what it is now, which is trying to teach people what I know, trying to get ideas from others, stuff like that. And kind of, I've been trading for a while, so I kind of want to...
And what's a while?
Reality for people that think they're going to come and just become millionaires in a year. It's just not how it works. So kind of giving a little bit of...
Oh, there we go. It looked like we lost connection for a second. How long did you say you were trading for?
My phone is going to die soon, so... I've been trading about 6 years.
Okay.
I think so originally I bought my first stock, I think in 2011, a couple shares of Berkshire Hathaway B and the Markel Group, and I was holding those I actually sold my Markel position, but I've been holding those for a long time. And well, I'm getting on some notifications. And then my first year of college, I started trading. And,
amazing.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
So, what kind of challenges have you faced along the way? Like you started out researching. Was it easy? What was like some of your some of the stuff that you faced along the way?
Oh my gosh. Tons of stuff. You learn a lot about your trade. So I started out researching a lot of companies. Short selling is really not easy at all. You really have to be disciplined because you can find a stock that is worthless, but the market may drive up the price out of irrationality, and dealing with that is a massive obstacle in itself. When you know a company is worth nothing and the price continues to go up, that's a challenge to have the discipline to not enter the position or whatever it may be. With short selling, you must be good at sizing your positions, managing risk, because as you know, and I'm sure a lot of other people know, when you buy a company and you're long the company, it can only go to zero. It can't go negative. Well, when you're short a company, in theory, it can go on forever. We've seen short squeezes like TLRY that go a lot higher than people believe. So if you enter too early, if you enter at 50, and the stock goes to 100, you're down 100% of your investment to 150, you're now down 200. So you really have to be good at managing your positions, and position sizing is really important.
Yep, no, 100%. Yeah, position sizing is the thing that will make or break a trader, right? Like somebody could have been long Bitcoin, right? Like from day one and be up 17,000%. And
Yeah.
if you only had one Bitcoin, that's great, but you're not retiring on one Bitcoin. Like the size does matter
Yeah, for
in
sure.
both directions.
Yeah. I mean, and I know a lot of people are trying to, get comfortable with options trading, and I know some people will trade on margin. I know trading on margin is a scary idea if depending on how much margin you can get from your broker. But also another common issue I see is people will want to trade options and they're actually risking too much.
Mm.
Options or they have leverage basically built into them. So you have to really, really, really be a good manager of your positions to, I think, have some success. And now there are different ways to minimize your risk, and you can have fixed risk in options.
Mm.
But if you're just buying calls, buying puts, a lot of people are, losing more than they expect.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to use options, and like I see like regular trading as two-dimensional, up or down. That's basically what you how you're going to look at the trade and manage it. And I see the options as kind of like a sphere. Like there's a third dimension to it where you're not just dealing with direction, you're dealing you're dealing with volatility and you're dealing with time.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
so
Uh,
uh,
that volatility and time are also things that people neglect to kind of focus on, and most options expire worthless that are bought. I know I've read that before, and to me, a lot of people try to play out of the money options, thinking, "Oh, if the price goes, if I buy this 35 strike and it goes to 38, I'm going to make $300 per contract or whatever it may be." And in reality, the chances of that happening are very slim. And
right, they're buying lottery tickets.
yeah, they're just throwing money into the trash, throwing money into the trash, throwing it into the trash. And I mean, it's part of a market, obviously. On every trade that you make, you have someone on the opposite end that thinks that they have an edge as well. So I've messed around selling uh, calls before. Uh, if I wish Robinhood allowed that, and for a
What do you
couple
mean?
of reasons. In Robinhood, you can't just sell naked calls. You have to have covered. You have to be covered in some way. So you have to sell credit spreads or
Hmm.
whatever it may be. And I would like it. I would think it would be good learning for a lot of people if they could go naked. Now I know it's risky, but if you can manage it by buying, maybe you want to sell a call and you're covered by 20 shares, not 100 shares. That type of experiment, I think, would be a good learning opportunity for a lot of traders that are new to the game.
Mm. That's interesting. The strategy that I've been using a lot on Robinhood, and I'm treating Robinhood as an income generating account, is doing those credit spreads, put credit spreads, call credit spreads, doing both of those simultaneously, and having what's called an iron condor, selling those. And in this market environment, so far it's been great, because well, what I've seen it do is it allows you to participate in the direction of the trend, but I'm also using it as a breakout strategy too. So I'll place it in such a way where if it does break down, I'll quickly cover and then let the long side of it run. And it's like providing two ways to win.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, options have so many possibilities. There's so many different ways to make money using options, and it's funny because Robinhood has really opened up the options game. A lot of people are now trading options, want to learn about options. For my first 3 years trading, I never traded an option.
Hmm.
I for my broker, they require you to have $100,000, and then or you had to pass a competency test. So I never even bothered trading options for a while, and then slowly I started realizing, as your account grows and you want to continue to, maximize your returns, options offer you, there's some terrific opportunities using options, whether it be, like I said, I like to short sell a lot. So being able to use call options to hedge my short position was a game changer for me. And it's really a great tool, but I see people trying to, I want to say people are trying to take advantage of, the leverage in options, but they really have no clue what they're doing. And it's kind of hard to see that, but I guess that's how the game works. If you're going to enter the market and you're not prepared enough, then you might get taken advantage of.
Yeah, it's a major problem. A lot of people learn this stuff the hard way.
I mean, I've learned my fair share the hard way as well. It is part of the game. So I guess you're going to learn early or you're going to learn late. Hopefully you don't learn by losing a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I learned by blowing up I at least 3 times that come to memory from when I started back in 98, 99.
Yeah. So, my greatest learning experience, I think it was 2000. It was probably a little over maybe 4 years ago. I was making a bunch of money short selling stocks, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm killing it. I'm going to be a millionaire in 2 years. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Greatest thing ever. One position, too much size, company gapped up 85% in the morning, lost tons of money. I lost so much money, and after that, I was like, I was shattered. I was like, I'm never gonna. I don't like the stock market. I didn't do anything for a month, and then finally, I went back. It changed my career. I literally went back, figured out exactly what happened, because the stock ended up gapping up, only to fall all the way down to my original. It was actually closed that day under my original position. And basically, I was shattered by that. But it literally turned me around. It made me realize how important risk management is. Basically, it taught me everything. After I went back, I learned so much about at-the-market offerings, shelves, pipes, which are private placement offerings, tons and tons of stuff. And if it wasn't for that one trade, I would have probably lost a lot more money later down the road, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am now, where I am confident in just about every type of trade I can make.
Yeah, I think that you touched on something real important, and it's something that most people, when they approach the market, don't do, and it's doing that post-analysis of the most painful trades or any trade, really. Can you walk us through what your process for that is like now? When are you doing your post-analysis? What does it involve? Do you journal? Do you write all this stuff down? What do you?
Yep.
What's your process look like?
I have a spreadsheet that I made. It's like a Google Sheets spreadsheet. I made it ago, and just tracking, what you're trading. And it doesn't matter if you're trading or investing. I think you should journal and track everything. And, when I track a trade, I actually use a website called TraderView. I don't know if you've ever used it.
Trader or Trading View? Because there's a charting service called Trading View that I use. Wonder if we're talking about the same thing.
It's Trader View.
Trader View.
It's View, VUE.
Ah, okay. Have to check that out. I'll pop it in the comments.
It's you can actually
Trader
there's an affiliate
View.
that you can.
Oh, whoops. View.
Yeah, just like that with a V.
Yeah, autocorrect.
Yeah. I've been using that because it offers a lot more detail in your trades. But I just started using that probably, I don't know, 18 months ago.
Okay.
Before, I just had my own spreadsheet, and I was, okay, I shorted CGC, 300 shares, this price, exit, this price, percentage gain, dollar amount gain, time of day. Why? No, why did I do this trade? Okay, the S&P looked like it was going to stuff at 258, and TLRY was fading, marijuana sector was fading. This is why, honestly, I don't think you should limit yourself as to what include as much as you can. If you have a trade idea, how are you going to learn without figuring it out, going back and researching? And not all patterns, one pattern might work for a month and then stop working, and how you have to be able to, go back and see, okay, this is what's working for me. I personally don't buy breakouts because I always seem to get stopped out for a loss. So that's something I could either go back and work on and try to figure that out, or I could just avoid that type of trade and that focus on what I'm good at, which maybe, shorting backside moves or whatever your comfort level is, or whatever your comfort is. I try to focus on what I'm best at. Now, I also want to, expand my playbook and learn new strategies and, become more of an all-around trader.
Mm-hmm.
You can't figure out your strengths and weaknesses if you don't journal your trades. You have to journal, and sometimes get lazy with my journal, but I try to do it every night. Every day I trade, even if I don't trade and I only watch. I might not trade Netflix, but I might see, take note of. I would say journaling is extremely important.
Yeah, that for me too. That's been one of the things that took me from being a losing trader to eventually getting to a point where I started to be able to lose and then make adjustments, and then lose some more, make some more adjustments, and then started to find consistency and grow from there.
I agree. One of the biggest, so after my trade, I didn't remember the ticker, where I lost 85% of my position, that I took like a month off, and when I came back, that's when I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, because I was in college and I made the decision right then and there, and I was like, okay, if this is just gonna be a hobby, it was just a hobby up to that point, and I was like, wow, I made a bunch of money. If I can somehow figure out how to not lose it this time, I'm gonna make this a career, and I'm gonna really try to, do it the right way. So that's when I said to myself, I'm gonna journal all my trades. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go like 100% at this. And if you are trying to be a pro athlete and you're not going 100% at it, your career is gonna be short. Like the guys like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, like those guys are professionals, not just on the court but off the court. Like they practice harder than anyone else. They don't abuse their body. They do everything the right way. So I think if you want to be a professional trader, you have to do everything the right way as well.
I agree with that. I think that people can trade part-time and be successful trading part-time. Like everybody has like their own objectives. So with it, I was trading successfully part-time for years. And recently went all in to be a professional trader, professional coach. And I think that you're right that if this is something that you want to do and do full time, then you need to be all in on it. Like there could be a progression, there could be a transition, but unless if you are focused, it's real hard to make that kind of progress, to get to that next level.
I agree 100%. You you have to go 100%, and that means I think that if I want to, or anyone wants to make a career out of this, when I made the transition when I was in college and I was just trading part time at the Open, when I graduated and decided that I was going to pursue this as a career, you really learn that trading full time and trading part time are very different. And people might not understand it, but when I trade at the Open, I for years I traded at the Open for 4 or 5 years. I traded only between 8:30 to 11,
Mm-hmm.
and when you become full-time and I'm sitting at my desk right here and I'm trading and it's 12 o'clock and I'm not in a position, I feel like, okay, I'm working. This is my job. I feel almost obligated to have to find something to trade. And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes that people can make, that I didn't trade between 12 and 4, right? Or maybe 12 and 2. And if I did, I wasn't doing it 100% every day. I had class. I played college baseball. I had practice. I had games. So I never was exposed to the market really between these hours. So when I started trading full time, that was my biggest hurdle, was just sticking to what I was great at and avoiding, the intraday chop or whatever it may be. And what I had to do to get over that obstacle was, after 11 o'clock, I will shut down 2 of my screens and I'll use one screen and I'll just research stocks like I used to at night or before the market opened. Because you can trick yourself into seeing something that you think is a setup that really isn't. And a lot of people, that was my biggest thing, is like I would make money in the morning doing what I normally do, and then, oh, let me try this, and then give back money, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And then would do that one day, and then I would do that, oh, day 2, why am I doing this? Day 3, I did it again, why? And then finally it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I need to change, I need to learn, I need to adapt, can't trade. If I am going to trade, let me figure out intraday setups, whatever they may be. So that's a massive learning curve. So if you do seem to do really good part-time, just know transitioning to full-time is another obstacle.
Yeah, 100% agree. And to add on to that, so I just went through my process again, and I like to review my process monthly now, right? Just to see if what I'm doing is still serving me, and what would I want to add to it? What would I like to evolve? And I've done this multiple times, and the biggest transitions that I saw when I thought that everything was working right, maybe about starting maybe a decade ago. That's when I first met the guys from Investors Business Daily and started rolling out with this group, learned what they were doing, and started trading with them. Found consistency, and I was doing great for a really long time. And then my daughter was born, right? And I didn't go back to review my process after she was born. Then all of a sudden my equity curve was going like this, and it started to go like this. And I'm like, well, what's going on? I'm doing the same kinds of things, or at least I thought, but the difference is life changes when you have a kid. And so then it dawned on me that major life changes impact your trading. Even if it's nothing related to the market, you need to evaluate how your life is changing, like whether it's a new child, you get married, you change jobs, or you make the transition to being a full-time trader. Once I transitioned to being a full-time trader, now I'm able to take trades that I wouldn't have been able to manage before, because now I'm able to give the trade what the trade needs. So like those options trades that turn into day trades, if they do break out or break down, now I'm able to manage those type of trades. Whereas before, in a day job, can't really drop what I'm doing in the middle of the day to manage the market. So it's a matter of developing a process that fits where we're at.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I don't know. And another thing about trading is people don't. If I was married, if I had kids, this isn't something that I would be able to do. I'm fortunate enough to, only have to depend on myself, and I have, I'm fortunate enough to be in the right circumstances where, day trading for a living is extremely tough. And there's a lot of people that think that it's easy, and I think that's a major misconception. You don't just wake up and make $2,000 and then call it a day and then are a millionaire, right? It's not that easy. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of self-discipline. For me at least, it's a lot of just sitting here waiting for something to happen. And then, you can do all the research in the world. Like, I know UXIN pretty well. I watched it this morning. I had my orders in to short some of it and didn't get filled on any of it. And now I'm looking at it and it's down 10%. So to me, like, that's very frustrating, because that's, multiple days worth of work that I should be taking advantage of that I missed. So I missed that money, and I now have to fight the feeling of, oh, I missed that. Now what do I got to make that another place where, you can't, you miss the trade. You have to understand that you're not going to just make that up. Okay, maybe I can buy some calls on Netflix and those will hit. No, that's not how it works. You have to be disciplined. You have to realize, okay, yes, I missed this trade. I can't chase it, can't fight it. You just have to accept it and move on and wait. Hopefully tomorrow will offer you a good opportunity. Like for me, I traded CGC this morning, and I had some really, really good entries on the short side, and I was holding this thing all day, basically until we started talking. I shorted it right from the open. It popped up to 39, and I was sitting here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a home run. This is going to be a home run. This is going to be a home run. And then I had to just accept the fact that maybe today's not the day that it's going to be a home run, and then, take my gains, wait. And I covered, I think I still have some on, but I'm realizing, okay, I have to lock in some gains. If this thing squeezes back higher, tomorrow will be a new day, and that's going to be the day that the home run happens. It's going to happen soon. It's going to happen whenever, but I have to be patient, and I can't fight it. If it's going to squeeze higher, I can't get stuck in it and fight it, because now I'm at a loss. When you're at a loss, not only do you have to make back the money for that your loss to be at green at the end of the week, but it's a mental thing as well. It's hard. If you dig yourself into a hole, it's going to be hard to get out of the hole. And then if you want to have your type of week, you have to go even further. And that's, I think, another thing that people get stuck in. They dig themselves into a hole too big and they can't get themselves out. And then they get frustrated. They overtrade. They oversize. And it's a death spiral, and it will happen really quick if you're not disciplined.
So when you're in that moment where you feel like, oh man, I missed that trade, I want to try to do something, but you don't, you maintain that discipline. How do what's going through your head? How do you not give in to that urge?
Okay, so CGC just broke. It's now falling now, and I still have some on, but I'm missing, I had a lot more on earlier. And I'm not going to chase it, and I'm not going to do anything. I have shares that I'm just going to ride down.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can hope for is that, this thing either crashes and I make enough money where I'm not kicking myself for covering too early, or, I cover and it goes higher.
Oh, we just lost him. Let me see if I can bring him back. Yo,
Hey, sorry, my phone died.
no worries, brother.
Uh,
So,
I
you wanted to comment on something.
definitely agree with what you were saying when someone asked how much should you be trading with. If you're just a beginner, I really think you should start with a small amount. And to be honest, the chances are you're going to blow up that account. So, if you can afford to lose $1,000, go learn, figure it out. And then try again with another $1,000 and be prepared to lose that as well, because you're not going to figure it out the first time. For me, I was fortunate enough to have multiple accounts always, but I remember I started a SureTrader account to test this strategy that I was wanted to try.
Mm-hmm.
And this is after 3 years of experience. I literally blew through the count in a matter of probably 6 weeks. So, and I've had years of experience, and I've had many profitable years before that, and I literally blew it up like that. And, I wasn't really sticking to my rules or anything, but it's very easy to not stick to your rules when you have a small amount of money. And like I said, like I shared this morning on my Instagram feed, is I don't think it matters so much what you start with. It's you have to have if you have one bad year, you're done. Like you can have 5 great years and one bad year and blow up your account and game over. So you have.
Hello?
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now I hear you.
Oh, couldn't hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for like, I don't know, like maybe 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah. Well, point is if you can't be disciplined with $1,000, it's going to be hard to be disciplined with $100,000, $200,000, whatever. And I think I would say, CGC just keeps going lower and lower. If you want to be, I think if you want to be a day trader, I think you probably, and like make money and not have a second job, you probably need to have at least $50,000 in your account. I don't know the exact number, but that's what I would say. It'd be hard to not. I don't know. Depends how much it costs to live, I guess, wherever you're from.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's an important thing for people to factor in too. Like, well, where is your money going to come from? What other streams might you have too? Right? Like, it doesn't all have to come from the market or like one trading style. There was something that you touched on too, where with multiple trading accounts and different styles, and I think that for the more experienced traders in the room too, that want to test out different styles, like I look at it as like you could be like Michael Jordan, right? Like just because like he's an athlete, like best one of the arguably the best basketball player of all time, just because like he's a great athlete doesn't mean that he could move into baseball and have the same level of success. I think a lot of traders think that because they're successful with one style that they could just translate it over to something else, and then they go all in and they end up blowing themselves up that way. So I think that, yeah, like knowing what you're good at, what you're proficient at, and then having the respect to understand that you're shifting into something new. Start out from square one. Be humble.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, if you're trading a new type of strategy or getting into something new, it's like getting into any different craft. Uh, for me, I grew up as an athlete, and like you said, with Michael Jordan, you can't be a really good baseball player and then just because you're a good baseball player, expect to be a good basketball player. It's just not how it works. You might have certain skills that will help you, like you might have great eye-hand coordination, and that might carry over to an extent, but, realize that it is a different craft and it is a different game. So just keep that in mind. And I think a lot of people hop into stuff and they expect, like this immediate success story. And when they don't get that, they get discouraged and they leave the game. And I think a lot of people, like, if you prolong your time frame, you'll likely have a lot more success.
Mm.
If I sit here and I try to, become a millionaire in a day, probably not going to happen. But if I try to become a millionaire over, 10 years, I can greatly improve my chances of success without being discouraged or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that another factor in there too is the level of effort that you're putting in. You might be putting in 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day into trading, and you'll get there a lot quicker than you might get there in 6 months or a year, and somebody else that's been trading for 5 years, but looks at the market once a week. They're like, oh, but I've been trading for 5 years, I haven't made any progress. Well, it takes more than just cracking open a book and learning how to. It's like right, it's like reading about baseball versus actually like getting out there and playing.
Yeah, and I like that comparison because I've read a lot of books. I have a pretty decent sized library, and I would say if you're trying to trade, there aren't many books that I would say, okay, read this and you'll know. It's not like that. Trading is not like that at all. Books are very hard to learn from in trading because you might get ideas, you might get, okay, like if you read a book about, reviewing your trades, that might be beneficial. Or if you read a book about, philosophy of trading or stuff like that, that is useful. But for actual strategies, it's not something that it's easy to write because the market is always changing. The market in 2019 is not going to be the same market in 2000 that it was in 2018. The same plays are not going to be there either. So reading trading books, in my opinion, is really hard. It's mostly, you sit in front of the screen and you watch, you track things, pick up things. I like to use fundamentals a lot, and I think it's the driving force of a lot of stock movements. So I try to, base most of my trades on something like that. And that a lot of traders, show up in the morning and they look at the chart, and once the chart explodes and it's done exploding, then what happens? Traders leave. Traders get out of that position, and that's when, that's what I do. I was like, okay, this company is garbage, and the crowd is done trading it. Now it's my turn, and I'll sit in and I'll just, like CGC, I'll just watch it go down all day after it's done exploding. For sometimes an explode happens for a day, sometimes it happens for weeks, and the whole marijuana sector went up for multiple weeks. So it's just kind of having that level of discipline, the patience. There's a lot of things that go into trading that people neglect to realize.
Yeah, I agree. Well, what would you say is the number one thing that people neglect? And also, if anybody that's here that's watching, if you guys have questions, pop them in. We want to try to help you.
The number one thing people neglect: fundamentals. So I know, for me personally, I wake up pretty early. I'll probably get to my desk around 6:30, like probably around 6. And I go back and I see what was moving the previous days, and then I immediately go to I actually use a website called BAM SEC, and look into the company's fundamentals filings if I don't already know. Like for maybe today, I think there's a penny stock running that's complete trash. I'm not looking at it. Yeah, it's up 230% on the day. MBOT. Well, this thing is awful. It's an awful company, but the momentum crowd hasn't left yet, and I don't know if they're going to leave today, tomorrow, the next day. But I do know if you go into their filings and you look at them and they need cash, there's only one way for a company to get cash when they can't make money on their own through their products, and that's through offering. I guess there are a couple of ways, but the most common way is through a shelf offering. If they have a S3 out there, they could go to private equity, private investors. And if they do a PIPE, those are usually really bad deals for the business. So current shareholders, usually when those are announced, everyone wants to leave. And then, as soon as the momentum crowd is underwater on their long positions, it's game over. So I like that. That's what I like to do. I like to sit and I like to read the SEC filings. I want to know when, it's all about supply and demand in my mind. So when the momentum crowd is the demand, when they leave, then they have excess supply. And then if the company needs to sell shares for cash, that's even more excess supply. For a company to hold that level of demand, that price equilibrium is going to drop significantly because it's just not going to happen. I see it happen time and time again. It's very, very, very difficult. Like what TLRY is doing, keep the price so high, it's pretty incredible. And I think what's going on now is, if I had to say, Frontier doesn't want to sell their shares because, at least at my broker, the interest rate is close to 800%. So they're making, they hold tons of shares. They're lending out tons of shares. The current rate is at 750%. They're making a lot of money per day lending their shares to short sellers. Why they don't have, if I had an investment that I made at $10 a share, now the stock is trading at $100 a share, and I'm lending those shares out for 800% interest rate, right? You're making a lot of money off your initial investment. So it's like buying a stock at $1, and then 20 years later, you bought shares for $1 a share, and now you're getting a dividend of $1 per quarter. You're making 100% off your initial investment. That's great. That's a great stock. You did a great job, and they're the ones that control it. So when they sell their shares, they're just going to drive the price down, and everyone knows that's going to happen, and that's why everyone wants to short the stock. But now they hold the control. They're in charge. The stock's probably not going to go anywhere until they start selling their shares off, but they found another way to make money off those shares. So this is giving them another reason not to sell. And they don't have to. They control the company. They control a lot. So it'd be what looks like a great setup. I know for like my strategy, I know this is the type of setup that I look for, but kind of understanding a little bit further how the system works, this is a trap. So if anyone that plays the game like I do, and they're entering this trade, they're likely going to get trapped. It looks like a trap to me, and that's why I kind of have to force myself to stay away. The only way I could think about trading it is possibly short calls, but then you run the risk of they're not selling their shares. The float's still very small. A lot of people want to short this. A squeeze could happen. So It's tough.
Yeah, and I
It's a
saw
tough.
the spreads on the calls for that one are insanely wide. When I was looking at that, like several
Um,
dollars.
Now, I don't trade options all that much, but I do know from experience when I price my options, uh, I I usually, if I'm confident, I will give a fair price. And usually, if you enter a fair price into the market, you'll get filled. Now, exiting that fair price position could be difficult, and that would be my biggest concern is, you know, if I enter a fair price and I want to sell a call, someone will pick it up and they can do whatever they want with that position after that. If they want to, exercise the shares, whatever it may be, they can do that. It's exiting the position that sometimes gets a little tricky. Um, but if you have the capital, you can exercise, sell it on the open market for a fair price as well.
Mm.
And I know that a lot of people get scared of trading options with wide spreads. And I mean, you do need to have a longer time frame. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to scalp this using options if the spreads are ridiculous, because you're going to get trapped. It's an easy way to lose money. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
shorting a stock with no liquidity. If you short a stock with no liquidity, it doesn't matter what's going on with the company. You can get walked up on, and you can end up buying the shares back at a price that's unimaginable. And it happens a lot. It's like a short squeeze on a. So did you see FU or PHUN and some of those other stocks that went up like thousands of percent in a day?
Um, Today? Not
No,
today.
last week. I mean, they're complete. I mean, they're not. I don't know. They're not good companies by any means, but because there's no liquidity, someone was able to, buy the whole float. Probably some short sellers got trapped, and then they got stuck buying the shares back at ungodly prices. Like
Mm.
you have
Yeah.
to check out the charts and see. There's no liquidity on them. There's only probably 10,000 shares traded throughout the
Oh
entire
yeah,
day.
no, that doesn't meet my criteria at all. Like I'm looking at things that trade like a bare minimum 200,000 a day.
Yeah,
Yeah, like that takes care of a lot of liquidity issues. And when I'm doing options trades, like I'm looking at the bigger names, like I was trading earlier. I mentioned Netflix and Nvidia. I had traded Ulta, the options in that. So liquidity is not an option in those bigger names. We've been going strong for a little over an hour. And so, yeah, man, I want to thank you so much for all of your time. I think that this was an amazing chat. Um,
thanks
Want to
for
let
having.
you, yeah, absolutely, man. Look forward to talking again in the future. Keeping in contact on IG. Everybody that's here should definitely give you a follow. Check out your content; it's amazing. I think that you're doing a lot of great work to help a lot of traders, both new traders and experienced traders. I got a lot out of this conversation. I hope a lot of other people did too. I'm sure they did.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was awesome to come on here and talk to you. I've been following you. You do a great, great, great job. I love, like, you're keeping me motivated. You're getting me in line with my own trading. And I think a lot of people don't understand is, like, when you're trading for a living, you're your own boss. So
Hmm.
just watching you and seeing how motivated you are, it motivates me to try to be better myself. So I was glad to come on, help you if I could. Hopefully, I don't know how Instagram Live works, but hopefully you get some followers from me and I get some followers from you, and everyone just keeps progressing and growing and getting better and better and better.
100%, brother. And I'm also going to take this recording and I'm going to throw it up on YouTube so that way everybody could watch it over there and then that way it lives forever.
Awesome. Cool. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me again. We'll chat soon. And thanks for everyone that tuned in.
Yeah, 100%, man. Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you all again real soon. Take care, man. Peace out.
Peace. See ya.
See ya.